Okay, so notice in the reaction, we've used up water and we've given off oxygen, but we haven't got carbon dioxide involved yet, and we haven't created any sugar. Well, that takes place in the light independent reaction, or sometimes called the dark reaction. They like this process so much they named it like 4 times. It's also known as the carbon fixation reaction or the Calvin cycle because it's cyclical in nature. And Melvin Calvin and Andrew Benson were the 2 guys that discovered the process. So sometimes it's even called the Calvin-Benson cycle. Okay, regardless, we've got our taxis that we created in the light reaction. We've got our ATP temporary storage molecules that we created in the light dependent reaction. We're going to use both of those to help power and add stuff to the dark reaction. Now they call this a dark reaction because as long as we have these things available, as long as we have some ATP and some NADPH, this can occur without the sunlight. Okay? This happens in the stroma or the gooey part of the chloroplast. And yeah, so first thing we need to do is we need to get some carbon dioxide into the leaf, and that goes into the holes again in the bottom of the leaf, the little stomatas. Carbon dioxide comes from the atmosphere. It's in the air that we breathe in and out. We don't use it, but the plants will. And so they take in carbon dioxide and they add it to a acceptor molecule called RuBP. It's an abbreviation. That's all we need to know. Now RuBP is like a 5 carbon sugar, and we're adding another carbon to it. So we're adding carbon to that. We're going to make 6 carbon sugars. So we add one of these to one of those, we get one of those. We add another one and another one, and so we're taking 3 RuBPs, adding 3 carbon dioxides, and we're getting 6 of these kind of intermediates. Now they're unstable and they quickly break apart into 3 carbon sugars. Okay? And we get 3 carbon sugars and 3 more 3 carbon sugars because these guys are breaking apart. They're unstable, and we call that PGA. The fancy name is phosphoglyceraldehyde, but that's fine. Okay? All we really need to remember is the abbreviation. Okay? Now, here comes ATP. ATP is powering this all the way through. So it's like taking the big wheel on the wheel of fortune and taking your spin. Okay, that's the ATP's job, is just to keep this process going. It takes energy to transform one type of molecule to another type. Okay, the taxi brings hydrogen and it drops it off in various stages as it adds that hydrogen to our carbon chains. Okay, so we go from PGA, which is somewhat hydrogenated, to DPGA, which is more hydrogenated, to what we call PGAL. Now again, it's a 3 carbon sugar. Here's one of them. It's got a couple of hydrogens, and that's the end goal, is PGAL. Okay, phosphoglyceraldehyde. Okay, and it can be used for, like this little molecule, can be used as an immediate energy source. It can be used to replenish the RuBP, which I'll show you in a second. Or if we run this cycle twice, we'll get 2 of those, and we can stick those together and we can make glucose. So now we're getting our C6H12O6 because we take 2 of these 3 carbon sugars after we run the cycle twice, and we make that into glucose. Okay? So if we look back at our numbers, we took 3 5 carbon sugars, we added 3 carbon dioxides. Now we get 3 6 carbon sugars, which then we break those guys into 3 3 carbons and 3 3 carbons. Okay? So we have basically 6 molecules that are 3 carbons long. Okay, if we take one of those out, we now have 5 3-carbon molecules in a little intermediate. And then we break those apart and rearrange them, because that's 5 times 3 is 15 carbons. And we make 3 times 5, which is 15 carbons. So we're not losing any or adding any in those steps, just rearranging them. And now we're back to Ruby P, which can then grab 3 more carbon dioxide. So you grab 3, you spit out a PGL. You grab 3, you spit out a PGAL, right? And then you can make glucose. If you have enough glucose in a plant that's accumulating, the plant will eventually clink those together to make a big long molecule called starch, which it uses to store that sugar if it needs to. So all this happens in the stroma, the gooey part of the chloroplast. This happens in the grana, like the solar panels of the chloroplast. And so it's a two-part process. One depends on light. The other one depends on the things created during the light reaction. And you now have taken in the carbon dioxide and you've got out the glucose. All right? Hope that helps.